From Sean Combs and More Money, More Problems to my man Sean Carter, Jay-Z, and a little dirt off the shoulder. New allegation.
99 problems, and this is one.
This is definitely one. New rape allegations against my man Jay-Z. 13-year-old girl is accusing Jay-Z in a civil claim in California, saying that he raped her, essentially. Now, the legalities behind this is whether or not she has the right to come forth with rape allegations about 20 years later, and whether or not the state or whatever state court you're in can actually hold Mr. Jay-Z liable for these kind of claims. Currently, right now, this is a civil allegation. Is this a money grab? Or is this an actual allegation that we have to now look and deep dive into the facts? Of course, 24 years later, it's a little difficult to figure out what exactly happened. She's going to need testimony, etc. But again, because of the Diddy trials that are coming out right now they're going after Jay-Z. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jay-Z put out a long letter to the attorney, Mr. Busby, who's representing the plaintiff, pretty much saying, I'm holding my ground. I'm not giving up a dollar. These are false allegations. If you want money, either bring something criminally or prove it. So that's where we're at right now with Jay-Z and his new rape allegations.
It's important to note, right, when we're talking legal stuff, legal allegations and claims, most things in the legal world have statute of limitations on them. All right, so armed robbery or, other criminal type things will have a certain statute of limitations. Even civil actions have statute of limitations. Contract violations, whatever it is. But with some serious crimes and allegations of crimes, murder, sexual assault, those types of things either have no statute of limitation. So a girl, 20 years later can bring this claim, or they have really long statute of limitations, so 30, 40 years type statute of limitations. So in this case, she's within her statute of limitations to bring the claim. They're bringing a complaint, they're filing it, they are saying, this happened at one of these parties that are now become notorious, and that, from what we can tell, if you were a celebrity in the early 2000s in the music and entertainment world out in that area, you were probably at least one of these white parties and the parties that Diddy had. And I would expect that this is not going to be the last person who attended one of these parties to get an allegation against them, true or not true, due to the fact that they were there. And they were known, to be there. So I'm really interested to see sort of where this goes, and not shocked that Jay-Z took the stance he did.
But importantly, I think with these allegations or whatever these stories are being told, we're not just at these white parties. Full disclosure, I've been invited to the Diddy white parties out in the Hamptons.
I thought you were there. You were
there in 2000?
No, listen, we've all had friends from New York who went out to the Hamptons for the Diddy white parties.
The baby oil boys.
They were just regular parties at clubs, and there's nothing going on. I think this is all after hours stuff, which is where behind the scenes people are being accused of doing certain things. But yeah, the statute of limitations is very important. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Is it from the time you become an adult? And in California, I believe it's from the time you become an adult. You have 20 years essentially. So she is within the statute of limitations, but how is she going to prove, right, that Jay-Z raped her? She's going to have to find witnesses, fact witnesses.
The problem is cell phones aren't as relevant as they were now.
Not at all.
You can't ping the location. There's no text message saying, hey, I'll be back later. I'm going with Jay-Z in the car to a party. See you tomorrow. So again, it's going to be her word, her credibility against his word, his credibility, witnesses, whatever it is. But again, the problem that we will have to realize is if the allegations are true, they're very serious and they need to be justified and rectified, and it needs to be dealt with the right way. If they're not, then, again, you have people that are high net worth athletes or entertainers rather, and this could be a money grab, and we need to make sure that we're not just opening a checkbook because somebody wants to make an allegation that is untrue against an entertainer.
Well, I think importantly, sorry to interrupt, Tony Busby, who's the attorney of the plaintiff, essentially, and this is what Jay-Z wrote in his letter, everybody can see it on social media, is that he's done some research, and Mr. Busby is notorious for filing claims like this. So we all have heard the term, and we're lawyers, so the ambulance chaser, right? We've all heard that, whether that's nice word or term or whatever the case may be. Does it help the plaintiff that Mr. Busby may or may not be an ambulance chaser for these types of claims? Or would she have been better served by a law firm or a representative who's never really filed, allegations like this? You know what I'm saying? So I think now the media is going to obviously take this and run. Mr. Busby files claims like this all the time. They never stick, or maybe he wins these claims. So it's whether or not Mr. Busby has a team around him to build these facts, to make maybe negotiate with Mr. Jay-Z's attorneys, which I'm guessing are fairly
pretty good.
Are pretty good.
Well, actually, we got a call for a consultation. So.
Yeah, okay, I wish that was the case.
So.
I wish that was the case.
But
everything
no,
else.
at the end of the day, we got to make sure that you have your due process is being heard and being addressed. And, listen, win, lose, or draw, there'll be a verdict at some point in this case, whether it's through a settlement. And typically these will settle at some point just to go away. If it does go to a trial, I'd be really intrigued to follow along and see what does come out, because it could have ramifications on other entertainers potentially.
Yeah.
It's important that, and you alluded to it earlier, Rich, that they're old allegations. We understand that. But when with sexual assault and things like that, there's so much psychological damage and other things that there are reasons why people don't come out, right away. And there's reasons why they wait 20 years, so we need to be cognizant of this young woman's mental health and everything else that's going on. But on the other end, and equally as important, right, is Jay-Z, and he has a right to defend himself, and he's innocent until proven guilty. That's part of the laws in our country, and it's part of what makes our country great.
Not the social media laws.
Right, not the social media laws. He's probably
innocent.
guilty already, but
and even if he's proven innocent, they're still going to say, "Oh, yeah," and that's the problem.
And that's problematic. But we have to be cognizant and mindful of both of their positions here, because they're both really important.
Well, Rich said it best, how is this case going to end? And the reality of 99% of these cases out there is that it's going to end in a settlement. Jay-Z's already taken a stance. I am not paying this woman $1. I did nothing wrong. I never raped or, sexually assaulted anybody, which means Mr. Busby better be ready to go to trial. You know what I'm saying? Because I know,
or he won't be able to survive a motion for summary judgment at some point and get his case out if he can't prove anything.
I'll tell you what, as soon as this case ends, then Jay-Z's attorneys are going to file a lawsuit against Busby and the plaintiff for malicious prosecution, and then it's going to be flipped on the other side. These are negotiation tactics that lawyers use in order to try to force their hand. And usually when you're the big dog like Jay, you could pressure people that don't have the financial means to, go forward with a trial or to settle. You say, you better drop this case or else I'm going to file a lawsuit for malicious prosecution, and I'm going to crush you in the future because you brought this, frivolously. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of letters going back and forth and filings in the court. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
Malicious prosecution is from a state agency or government agency, not a private.
It'll be frivolous litigation.
Frivolous litigation.
So if they filed it, if he filed it in New Jersey, right, let's just pretend for a second, filed the case in New Jersey, and you're representing Jay-Z as a defendant, your first move is to file frivolous lawsuit litigation, because what that does, right, you send the letter, you send that Rule 1:whatever letter that basically puts him on notice. It gives him 14 days to dismiss the claim, and if you don't, you're subject to sanctions if you lose. I mean, that's what it's about. By the way,
I get those often sent to me.
We do get
those. I get those often sent to me. So whether or not they actually have any grounds to stand on is important, right? And if Jay-Z's going to take the stance, well, frivolous letter or not, I'm not going to listen to it, and vice versa. So important to understand the legalities behind this type of situation, and definitely interested to see what's going to happen. Follow, subscribe, hear more as this case unfolds. We're going to continue talking about the Jay-Z rape allegations.